All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with more Sakamoto Days. So I'm keeping an eye on my time here because still waiting on food to get here. So I don't know when it's going to arrive. So if I happen to step away due to doing the food, hopefully it's before the chapter finishes. So let's get started, shall we? Yo, peoples, Qushu92 here. Welcome back. Pardon me, had a drink. But welcome back to more Sakamoto Days. In the last chapter, we had Uzuki basically seemingly grievously injuring Gaku and also slashing Uzuki directly in the neck. So now it remains to be seen if this is the end of Uzuki or the start of something much worse. So let's see what happens in days 269. And we have a hand, and this is fully colored. We have a hand and a heartbeat, and we have Sakamoto's gun, and his heart is beating. Days 269, Inner Beast. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. This is exactly what Atari just warned us about. This might be the chapter. This actually might be the chapter where what's deep. Also, they playing PlayStation. They're playing PlayStation. They're playing. Tell me how they're playing Elden Ring Night Rain, but they're using a PlayStation 1. And it they're playing Elden. They have, because you literally see the image on the cover. They're playing Elden Ring Night Rain on a PlayStation 1. But this is a color page that shows young Sakamoto, young Nagumo, and a young Rion. While they're just chilling, eating chips, eating snacks, and drinking, and they're playing video games. Days 269, Inner Beast. And Uzuki is currently on the ground, bleeding out from the neck, and Nagumo, sweating, is looking over at him. And Kanaguri is just recording all of this while holding Akira. And everyone sees this. Even even Kendaka takes off his glasses with Hard Boil going, Nagumo killed him? And we have Mafuyu and Seba. We have Granny Mia and Lu. We have Kamihate and Heisuke. We have Shishiba and Amane and Atari. And the crowd is cheering. Heck yeah, the leader of the new JAA is dead. We've been liberated from the assassins. No, our God. I don't believe it. I thought this was the beginning of an awesome new era. Those who support Uzuki are sad. But now we got families going, maybe we'll be safer now. Things will go back to how they used to be. And then Osaragi, who's there with Shishiba, gets up. While she looks incredibly tired, she goes, not enough. Make sure he's dead. Osaragi, you're awake? Cut him up into tiny pieces. What he did is not enough. All that blood is proof that his carotid artery has been severed. Oh wait, all that blood is proof that his carotid artery has been severed. Take a good look. That's Nagumo's style. He didn't want to make an old friend suffer. And then someone walks into frame of Kanaguri, and it's Shin. It's Shin who just walks in. Shin. And he walks past Uzuki. He walks past Nagumo and kneels down to Sakamoto. Mr. Sakamoto. Mind you, Sakamoto hasn't moved after being slashed by Uzuki. Please, get up. It's all over. Let's go home to the store. Mr. Sakamoto. Hana and Aoi, and Lu and Heisuke and everyone. They're all waiting for you. And then Sakamoto twitches. Nagamo, call the JAA rescue team. Maybe they can still save him. Now, just now, in Mr. Sakamoto's thoughts. Shin, I checked his wounds. I'm sorry, but it's impossible. His intestines are ruptured and his stomach is lacerated. Even with an immediate laparotomy? Laparotomy. Even with an immediate laparotomy to stop the bleeding, it's already too late. What do you know? Just now in Mr. Sakamoto's thoughts! I'm sorry. It's my fault. And Sakamoto and Boiled is just sitting there, just standing there in the square with Kendaka going, Sakamoto, if I only had been here to fight with you. And then someone says, wait, something's off. Huh? I thought he said, no matter how many times I do it, the outcomes turn out real bad. She said that when Slaw was pushed to the brink, his inner beast... she said when Slaw was pushed to the brink, his inner beast would awaken, and that Taro Sakamoto would die in that battle. What do you mean something's off? It's just as Atari told me. What are you trying to say? Really bad? I'd say it all went down pretty breezily. And then there's a heartbeat, but it's not coming from Sakamoto. And Nagumo turns and looks in the direction of Uzuki. And Kanaguri, with that devious look in his eye, goes, in the movies, until the end credits roll, anything can happen. And Uzuki gets right back up. The bleeding from his chest has stopped. There's not even any blood from his neck wound. And Nagumo is just looking at him. And then Uzuki pushes his hair back. Uzuki pushes his hair back. And then all of a sudden, Nagumo spins around and kicks away Shin as Uzuki bears down on him. And then Nagumo goes to cut towards Uzuki. And Uzuki dodges the slice and does a flip kick towards Nagumo, who I think dodges out of the way. Oh no. Oh no. I know what he's doing. This is the worst possible scenario. Uzuki is up, and then in doing this flip kick, he destroys a series of he destroys a newsstand. And on this newsstand is a pen. And then Uzuki catches the pen. Oh, this is what the inner beast of Uzuki is. And he catches the pen, but Uzuki's eyes take on the guise of someone we are all too familiar with. And in an instant, Uzuki jabs into the neck of Nagumo with this pen, shocking Shin, shocking Kamehate, shocking Kendaka. Way he's moving. I don't believe it. It's almost like back in his prime. And then Uzuki puts his hand on his shoulder and cracks it. Just like Sakamoto. The ultimate form of Uzuki is a persona that copies Sakamoto. It's not even Takamura. The ultimate inner beast of Uzuki is him copying Sakamoto himself. And mind you, he's still bleeding from the neck. Uzuki literally changed. His whole appearance has changed to look like Sakamoto, complete with one strand of hair coming down the side of his face. The moment he started pushing his hair back, I'm like, oh Lord, the inner beast that awakens within Uzuki is Sakamoto himself. That's the end of the chapter. We end this chapter with Uzuki literally having his neck slashed, but this also awakened a brand new personality in Uzuki that perfectly emulates Prime Sakamoto. So now Uzuki is up and about, and he's going to fight just like Sakamoto, with the strength of Sakamoto, with the speed of Sakamoto, with the ingenuity of Sakamoto. This is now our end boss. Our end boss is someone who perfectly fights like Sakamoto. And you want to know how scary this is? Uzuki blitzed Nagumo, jabbing him and stabbing him twice to the point where Nagumo is spitting out blood like in an instant. This is prime Sakamoto. And I don't mean Sakamoto as he is right now. I mean Sakamoto before he stopped being an assassin. Everybody's dead. Okay. I was so concerned about what this inner beast was going to be. I did not think that the inner beast of Uzuki was going to be him developing a persona that allows him to essentially be Sakamoto. Okay. I was thinking exactly what you were thinking, and I don't think this is modern day Sakamoto. This is Prime before he met his wife, legendary assassin Sakamoto. That's the reason why we saw his gun. That's the reason why we saw his gun at the beginning. Literally, the first thing is a heartbeat, and we just have the image of Sakamoto's gun itself with his name on it. This wasn't Sakamoto's inner thoughts. This was Uzuki's inner thoughts, picturing Sakamoto, and that's what gave rise to the persona. But yeah, we go through this. The beginning, Nagumo seemingly killing Uzuki. Osaragi is the only one who goes like, nah, double tap him. No, make sure he's dead. Make sure he is dead. People are cheering that he's dead. The people who followed Uzuki are saying like, no, our god is dead. Osaragi saying like, make sure he's dead. Cut him up into pieces. Then Shin appears out of nowhere. And then goes to check on Sakamoto, but he's not moving, saying like, you need to get up. It's all over. Let's go home into the store to see Hana and Aoi and Lou and Heisuke and everyone. They're all waiting for us. And there's a twitch from Sakamoto, apparently within his thoughts, that gets Shin's attention. And he's all like, yeah, you need to go get some people to rescue him. But apparently the wound that Sakamoto has suffered has ruptured his intestines and lacerated his entire stomach. He's literally had his inner organs completely sliced through. And Kindaka is the only one out of everyone here who thinks that something's wrong, because he immediately thinks of what Atari said. No matter how many times I do it, the outcomes turn out really bad. She said that when Slur was pushed to the brink, his inner beast would awaken, and that Taro Sakamoto would die in that battle. And Kindaka's all like, really bad? I'd say it went down pretty breezily. And that's when Uzuki starts to awaken, and Kanaguri's has a slight smirk to himself because he's all like, in the movies, until the end credits roll, anything can happen. And one of the worst possible situations happens as Uzuki literally gets up and starts moving his, like taking his hair and then just like pushing it back with only a couple of strands lying in his face. And Nagumo knows something's bad as Uzuki rushes towards him. Uzuki dodges him, then lands like a drop kick on a newsstand, causing a pen to fly into the air, him catching the pen, his eyes taking on the eye shape of Sakamoto and proceeding to stab Nagumo twice in both sections of his shoulder blades, like literally both right here and right here. Everyone looking is like, the way he's moving, I don't believe it. It's almost like back in his prime. And Uzuki has basically developed a brand new, if not developed, this is probably dormant. If anything, I would not be surprised if this persona was completely dormant within him until this point. Because the one who almost, like you said, the one that pushed Sakamoto to death's door the very first time was Sakamoto in his prime when he was younger. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is the first persona Uzuki created, but it's been dormant and he's been using other ones. If not, Rion and then Sakamoto, but Sakamoto's persona was like buried deep within him until this point. So now we have Uzuki, who's basically copying Sakamoto, and he's back up to fight again. So now the question is, who's going to stand against a Sakamoto, an Uzuki empowered by Sakamoto? Now, who's going to be able to face him? Because Nagumo's been stabbed pretty hard. If you stabbed in your shoulders to spew out blood out of your mouth, you got stabbed pretty hard. Well, I know Shin versus Uzuki was sort of set up to happen at some point. This adds a whole new wrinkle and dynamic to that. Wait, this might actually be a good thing? Because if he behaves like Sakamoto, then perhaps he could be reasoned with? Now, mind you, this is Sakamoto back in his prime before he met Hana. Not unless Hana shows up and then he gets flustered just like he did all those years ago. That could be funny. But then again, it would literally be, if that were to happen, it would seriously be like a Batman v Superman moment where Lois shows up to calm him down. Think about it. The prediction was Taro Sakamoto was going to die. A Taro Sakamoto is going to die. Just not the actual one. Ooh, you bring up a good point. Because he in this instance, he essentially believes he's Sakamoto. So, the prediction of Atari may still come to pass. Just not with the Taro we know. It could be Taro Uzuki. Definitely something to keep in mind. But this is what this whole chapter was. It was just a setup to see Uzuki become Uzuki Sakamoto. And we thought him basically being Old Man Takamura was bad. Him being Sakamoto, who's literally the John Wick Jackie Chan of this universe, who basically can use anything as a weapon, in the hands of Uzuki with all the strength that he has and capable of replicating and copying, that's a bad combo. Who else is there left to fight against him? Will it be Shin? Has Shin ascended to a point where he's able to stand up against the strength of Prime Sakamoto? Which I don't think he has, because Shin was there when Sakamoto was in his prime. Remember the cruise ship where Sakamoto was looking for Shin's dad in order to take him out for a job? And Sakamoto was just ridiculous even then. Like, how you gonna take a car, drive it off of a freeway, and then have it land directly into a cruise ship perfectly for you to be able to get out normally like it ain't nothing? This is that Prime Sakamoto. This is the same Sakamoto that was fighting those dudes on the bridge and using the wire from, like, one of the fiber wires of the bridge to basically hold the bridge and keep it from crashing. Like, with the crazy strength that Sakamoto had in his prime. Being able to hold up a suspension bridge for a certain amount of time in order to get the JAA head's wife and daughter out safely. Just the ridiculous things we saw Sakamoto do in his prime. And now Uzuki is copying. Uzuki has essentially become that version of Sakamoto. Mind you, and he's just cracking his neck like cracking his shoulder, but all the while he still has blood on his shirt and he's still bleeding from the neck, but it's not as profusely as it was before. It's still dripping blood, but I think he's made it so that it wouldn't bleed as much so he can actually fight. This is a concern. This is a concern. The malicious intent of Uzuki with the capabilities and thought process of Sakamoto. Fighting style too. This is serious. You want to know what I thought? Originally, I thought that the inner beast of Uzuki was going to be like an amalgamation of all the personas he's had, and he could use all of their capabilities and strengths in one go without having to switch personalities. That's what I thought the inner beast was going to be. But no, the inner beast was literally a copy of Sakamoto that hasn't been used until now. I think we're about to get a Jujutsu Kaisen Sukuna-like gauntlet. You know, I think everyone joins in to try and bring this guy down. I don't know. Sakamoto is pretty busted. It takes a lot to bring down Sakamoto. You have to be of some crazy amount of strength in order to bring him down. Or have Sakamoto be distracted enough to leave himself wide open to get slashed across the stomach like he did when he was just casually talking to Uzuki, casually talking to Nagamo. And then wind up getting blitzed by Uzuki and grievously injured. Same, I thought that's what his inner beast was going to be, right? I thought, like, what's inside of him is going to be unstoppable. We literally been told that what's inside of him is going to be unstoppable. So I thought it was just going to be a combination of every persona, so he could use every persona's abilities and strengths without having to switch minds or switch thought process. He'd be able to freely use it. Because remember, he said that his arm still felt like Takamura, but he was still thinking like Uzuki. So I thought it was just going to be a combination and it just flowed in him. I didn't think the inner beast was going to literally be a copy of the story's main character. But now we're faced with Uzuki, and I want to say that there's no other personas after this one. There's no other persona greater or more dangerous than Sakamoto. Mind you, Old Man Sakamoto was like crazy strong, but fighting essentially a copy of Sakamoto, that is endgame final phase. This is final phase of final boss of a video game type deal. This is like the second state of Melania, as she's known as the Queen of Rot. This is literally that second phase. Oh, you thought the first part of this fight was hard? Nope, time for the second one. No, this is Promise Consort Radon. Uzuki and all his personalities was just regular Radon. But Uzuki in the state of Sakamoto is essentially Promise Consort Radon. And you're fighting him for the first time. To this day, I was trying to go through Shadow of the Erdtree as like a mage only build. It did not last long because I was getting my behind handed to me a whole lot. It wasn't until I got to Radon where I switched over to a shield build, and then it was just easy from there. Just all you need is like a big, heavy, hefty shield, and then you're basically safe from everything that he does. But here, this Promise Consort Radon is the endgame boss. I mean, Promise Consort Uzuki. Second, Sakamoto Uzuki is the final boss. Because after that, you don't have any other personas that are greater than that. This is the biggest threat. Sakamoto, who has no problem killing. That's the issue. See, Sakamoto, we've known, has stopped killing. Has been, against killing ever since he married Aoi. But now we have a version of Sakamoto that has no qualms about killing, and he's in the modern day. The greatest assassin in history versus the copy of the greatest assassin of today. It is literally that. This is like Gojo versus Sukuna. But Gojo is incapacitated, and the second person that has to take up the fight is essentially Yuji Itadori. Ergo being Shin, because Shin is here in this space right now. And we're not going on break. We're on break for One Piece, but we're not going on break for Sakamoto Days. So next Sunday, which will be the first Sunday of August, we'll get to see what happens. Wait, could the Rion aspect interfere with the Sakamoto personality in the past? Because if it could, imagine we get Sakamoto, Nagumo, and whoever, Sakamoto, Nagumo, plus whoever on the outside. While the Rion personality fights from the inside. That could happen, but we need to see what Uzuki does here. We need to see what Uzuki says first. Because the dialogue definitely helps us understand what's fully going on here. The dialogue helps. So the moment he starts speaking is when we'll know. Unless he's copying Sakamoto and Sakamoto didn't really speak too much to begin with, we'll have to see. But Nagumo definitely knows something is incredibly wrong because he recognizes the stance of Sakamoto. And this is bad. 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 Uzuki literally gets up from having his carotid artery slashed through, and now he's just standing here ready for like round 3. Because round 1 and 2, the first round with Nagumo versus Uzuki was at the museum. He got stabbed in the back then. Then the second round was Nagumo facing him here at the amusement park, stabbed him in the chest. Like stabbed him in the chest and then sliced his neck. Now it's round 3. And Nagumo has been heavily stabbed by a pen. A pen. I once saw him kill one man in an amusement park with a pen. A flippin' pen. Literally, this is bad. This is actually really bad. Of all the people to copy, someone like Sakamoto who thinks on the fly so quickly, if Sakamoto were to live in this day and age, he would be the most dangerous person in the world simply because not everyone thinks as quickly as Sakamoto does. The only time you see people with reflexes that fast are in movies. Sure, people have fast reflexes here in real life, but to be that fast and that accurate right now, you only see it in movies. And now we have Uzuki, who's basically a walking version of an evil Sakamoto in his prime before he stopped being an assassin. This is legendary assassin Sakamoto mode right now. This is bad. It's very bad right now. I don't even know how people are gonna fully survive this, because this aside, after Old Man Takamura, the most dangerous person in the world after him is Sakamoto. And this is bad. This is incredibly bad. Wow, I didn't even notice that my microphone was kind of moved. I will say that Kanaguri look got me thinking, did he let Sakamoto fight Uzuki because he knew something like this would happen? One thing I know about Kanaguri is that he will do anything to create the most perfect movie, his magnum opus, one of the greatest scenes for his movie. He's willing to do anything for it. I would not be surprised if he had a feeling something like this would happen, which is why he never interfered or did anything aside from just record, because he had a feeling something like this would happen. Either that, or he didn't know, and he just likes the randomness of it all because it makes his movie better. Either one of those two. But one thing I know for sure is that if he knew, that probably would explain why he's kind of smirking, because this actually will help make his movie better. I didn't interfere because I knew that Uzuki had yet another trump card in his sleeve, and this would help my movie be even better. I know his voice isn't like that in the English dub, because that is, I think that is Crispin Freeman who voices Kanaguri in the Sakamoto dub, I think. But if that is the case, then Kanaguri was just waiting because he knew this would make his movie look good. But yeah, this is very bad. This is very bad. Let me not keep you here any longer than I already have. Uzuki is back up again, and now he has developed or awakened a brand new persona, or a long dormant one, that essentially allows him to turn into Prime Sakamoto. And with our Sakamoto down, the only Sakamoto that's up right now is Uzuki using that persona. And if anyone tries to fight Uzuki in this state, they may wind up dead. But this is bad for everyone, because everyone is terrified to see that Uzuki is basically copying Sakamoto. But before he developed, you know, the mentality of... Before he developed this mentality... Hold on. Sorry, I got pinged for something. But this is where we're at, and this is bad. It's almost like back in his prime. The fact that he's just using the same thing. I love how the pen was used to confirm that this is indeed a copy of Sakamoto's personality. Yeah, because the pen is one of Sakamoto's favorite things to use to incapacitate people. Not directly kill them, but incapacitate them. The moment he grabbed it, the moment he grabbed the pen, I'm like, oh, this is bad. This is crazy bad. But that's where we're at. That is Sakamoto Days chapter 269. I believe I was wondering, like, are we going to make it to 270? It looks like we are making it to 270. So now we go another 10 chapters beyond and say, like, are we making it to 280 now? Because actually, you know what? I'm just going to leave it open. Because if I say, like, I honestly don't believe we're going to make it to 300 chapters, but knowing me, I've been wrong many times by saying, like, oh, I don't think we're making it to 265. Then we get past that. Oh, I don't think we're making it to 270. We're literally, the next chapter is 270. So I'm gonna stop saying, like, I don't know, on saying, like, I think this series is gonna end on this chapter, because I've been wrong every single time. I've been wrong every single time. I'm not saying it anymore. I'm not gonna say it anymore. We're just gonna see how the story goes until we get to the last chapter. You will not hear me say, I wonder how many chapters we have left, because I've been wrong with every single assumption so far. So I'm just gonna save myself the trouble. But we're about to approach 270 chapters. The slick back hair had me like, wait a minute. The adaptable flip, wait, no. And then the pen was all like, oh, no, it is. Yeah, like the flip that made it so that he would he would break the ground, but it will also cause like these newspaper stands to like fly up in the air, and he would immediately grab the pen from this stand and then use it. The slick back hair is what got me. Because the only person I know that has slick back hair that we have witnessed thus far with all the assassins we faced, because everyone just likes having, you know, loose hair, is Sakamoto. He's the only one that I've seen that has his hair always perfectly slicked back with like one strand hanging down. I'm like, ain't no way. There is no way. Because in my heart of hearts, I was thinking like, no, this can't be. This can't be. This is not. He's not. He's not about to do what I think he is. But when he grabbed the pen, that was a confirmation. That and the eye shape. The almost beady-eyed look of Sakamoto. Yeah, that was essentially him. Because if you go back to the cover page, it's essentially his eye. Right here with Nagamo, Sakamoto, and Rion just chilling and playing games, that's essentially his eye shape right there then and there. So yeah, this is incredibly bad. We have evil Sakamoto on our hands right now, and the good Sakamoto is currently heavily incapacitated because all of his organs, his intestines have been ruptured and his stomach has been sliced. So things are not looking good. Things have actually gone from bad to worse. So now the question is, how do we get out of this? But here's hoping we find out in the next chapter. And if not the next chapter might just be Uzuki Sakamoto essentially massacring people. Just running hands and then just one-shotting and no diffing people. I would not be surprised if the next chapter is just to show how terrifying Uzuki is under this persona. We saw an example with Takamura. Dude had deadly accuracy with that. But the level of deadly he's going to be basically copying Sakamoto, but without his moral standing of like no longer killing, that I would not be surprised if we get a chapter that just showcases how terrifying he can be under this persona. Because just doing this to Nagamo, while it's shocking, it's not a full display. And I feel like we may be getting a full display of just how dangerous Uzuki Sakamoto is. You know what? His name is Uzuki Moto. This is Uzuki Moto. So we got Uzuki Moto here, and I feel like the next chapter might be to show off just how dangerous this persona is. And if this version starts picking people off one by one, what if he starts making his way towards like Boiled and Kindaka and starts taking down more and more people until he gets to like one final person? Like, what if this is the moment where Uzuki goes on a rampage under this persona, just taking everybody out? I don't know, but it's terrifying because now we have evil Sakamoto on our hands. But I'm not going to repeat myself. I've been doing that quite a lot lately. I'm going to call it here because I got food on the way, and I'm going to wait for that food to arrive before we move on to the newest chapter of Hunter x Hunter, because we do have a new chapter today, right? Let me double check. Yes, we do. We have a new chapter, and then another chapter's coming out next week as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Sakamoto Days. Uzuki has basically risen from the grave for all intents and purposes, even after having his carotid artery severed. Matter of fact, real quick, what happens when your carotid artery is severed? Wow, that's exactly the question I wanted to find out. Let's see here. Let's see. How long does it take to bleed out from an artery when we refer to bleeding out? Let's see. Among these injuries, the complete common carotid artery transection, which is severing of it, may be the most severe, can lead to fatal bleeding quickly. Let's see if I can refine my search real quick, just to get a little bit better info on it. I'm not trying to look for case reports on it. Let's see, what is the first aid for a severed artery? Elevate the wound and apply direct pressure. Okay, we're not looking for instructions. What to do? Let's see. You know what? Let me just do this. How long does it take? How long does it take to bleed out from an artery? Let's see. Without immediate intervention, a person can bleed out from an artery in as little as 2 minutes. On average, the bleed out time varies between 2 and 5 minutes. Arterial bleeding is the most severe type of bleeding. Arteries carry blood away from the heart, and the blood inside the arteries is under constant pressure. That's why arterial bleeding usually results in quick rhythmic spurts. It doesn't just trickle or flow out of the body like you would experience with capillary or venous bleeding. The blood actually shoots out of the body. But getting cut in the neck... I'm trying to find some real specific stuff before we move on. If one of your carotids is cut completely suddenly, i.e. severed, you will be dead in a matter of minutes. So, for Uzuki to get up after having a carotid artery severed that would normally have people dead in minutes, this is terrifying. That he's up and now he's ready to fight despite having this injury. But this is where we're at with Sakamoto Days. This is actually kind of terrifying that someone getting their neck sliced through is still up and ready to fight. What sort of Terminator Jason Voorhees nonsense is this? And mind you, I'm not saying nonsense as in bad nonsense. I'm just like, what is Uzuki even made from for him to survive all these injuries? He's been impaled twice. His neck has been severed. His little corroded artery has been severed and he's back up like, okay, I'm ready for round 3. What even is this guy? But we're going to have to find out in the next chapter. That's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. This was a very good chapter, but it's also terrifying because now we got evil Sakamoto on our hands. See you next time. Both One Piece and Sakamoto days have been good, and hopefully it's 3 for 3 with Hunter x Hunter. Only one way to find out, but I'm going to eat my food first once it arrives here, and then we'll do Hunter x Hunter. And then, of course, I'll do the newest One Piece episode, and I'll just continue on from there, and I'm probably just going to relax the rest of the day. But to everyone, hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Even check out my membership here on YouTube or me over on Patreon, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. And because I know you're coming back anyway. Have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later, peoples. Now, to eat. And then after I eat, Hunter x Hunter. Later, peoples.